A lot of people are saying that Sinners is one of the top movies of 2025. A lot of people are saying that Sinners is one of the best movies of the last decade. And there is a lot of racial allegories that we are definitely going to unpack. You guys are definitely going to want to see this.
The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Like, first, my brothers and my sisters, welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I'm your host, Afro Elite. All right. We have much to discuss. We're going to discuss the movie Sinners. This is not just going to be a typical movie review, but there's a lot, as you guys know, from everybody who's seen the film, reviewed the film, whatever the case may be. There's a lot to unpack here, a ton. All right. Hold on. Let me just check on something real quick. Okay, my audio is good. Last time it wasn't. It's a whole lot. There is going to be because I was wondering how I was going to do it. I figured it out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a overview, kind of slightly spoiler free. There might be small little details and small little spoilers. And then when I get to like really unpacking, then I'm going to do the spoilers. Okay. Ayo, I appreciate you coming back. Make sure you come back. Everybody hasn't seen it. I want to give everybody enough time to see it. Plus, I wanted of course, you guys know, lost my voice and had to heal from that. So, but I'm good. I'm good now. So, and I appreciate all of you guys for hitting that, the like button and sending good wishes and all of that stuff. I appreciate you guys. I love you all so much. You guys mean a lot to me. Thank you so very much. All right. So, I first want to start off by congratulating Ryan Coogler, the director, and Michael B. Jordan. They did a phenomenal job. This movie was excellent. This is excellent cinema, especially based off of an original R-rated film. This is excellent, okay? Now, Ryan Coogler, he did take aspects from, I think the movie was Dusk Till Dawn and other different aspects of different movies, and he put it together in a way that it was very original, but it still fit into the horror and vampire genre pretty well. It was very good. The movie was very good. The cinematography, excellent. Some of the scenes, the dialogue is excellent. It's not too much exposition, but it's not like barely enough exposition. One of the things that I will say, and this is just a non-spoiler warning about it. One of the things that I definitely want to say that I really, really enjoyed about it is that a lot of different people from different, what I call conscious levels. I view consciousness, like Black consciousness, as kind of a spectrum, so to speak. Now, as us here, we're like towards the top, the higher tier. If we can put it in like a tier, we're like at the higher tier of the consciousness level, if it's like a tower, so to speak. And then you have people who are like in the middle or towards the bottom, but they can still really get and enjoy the movie. That's what everybody from every different category and tier can enjoy the movie. So you don't have to be, one of the things I liked about it, you don't really have to be like super conscious to really get it and really be able to dissect all of the little things from it. But it's not super simplistic either. So it's a lot, it's at a level, a very masterful level, where everybody from every different like conscious level on the spectrum can really understand it. So that was really good. Shout out to Ryan Coogler for that. He was really good for that. The acting, absolutely. All of the cast, absolutely great. And a special shout out to Michael B. Jordan. I think that this movie really showcased like the incredible talent and range. Michael B. Jordan, in my personal opinion, has never displayed this much range in a film. I don't think many actors can display this much range in a film. The fact that he was able to, and I got images because I don't want to play the clips, but the fact that he was able to play two characters in this movie the entire time and play them both so well they can stand out on their own. They don't need the other twin to rely on them. there was moments in the film where the twins were not apart, and you can clearly tell the differences in personalities and thought processes. When the twins were together, you can see them kind of disagreeing at certain points, and but you see their bond. It was really well. And to be honest, most actors can't do that. Most actors can't play multiple different roles in one film. And the only time you really see actors doing that is in a comedy. That's really the only time you see an actor playing like one role in one film and another role in another in the same film, two different roles. Like Eddie Murphy does that a lot, or Tyler Perry, but those are comedies. In a very serious thriller that's rated R and everything, you don't really see that. And the fact that it was done so well, I definitely want to give him his shout outs for that. That was very, very, really good. He really did a really good job with that. So let me start off with the overview, and then we're going to get to the unpacking of it. I definitely want to do that. So the movie starts off really with this character right here. This is just an image right here. This character, Sammy. So the movie starts off with Sammy, and it shows him being all damaged and clawed up and everything. Don't want to give too many spoilers, but he goes into the church. And then after that, he's talking about he wants to, go out for the weekend. He grabs his guitar from his father, and his father is like the pastor of a church who tells him, hey, don't go out. Don't want you to. So that leads us to the twins. On the, what you see on the right. Okay. On the right, you see Smoke. That's the man in the blue. That's the twin in the blue. And then you see Stack. That's the twin in the red. All right. So Smoke and Stack. All right. Smoke is the more kind of authoritative, very stern, very strict, kind of the businessman. He's not like a smooth talker like that. But he's very strict. He's about the numbers and everything. And Stack is way more laid back. He's a smoother talker and everything like that. He has a certain charm to him, he's kind of friendlier. He's more of a people person, so to speak. They're both really good characters, and a lot of people love both the characters. You can even tell in the colors that the characters are wearing. All right, where Smoke is blue and Stack is red. And even in why I picked this picture in particular, this is the first image that you see of the twins. And even in the way the twins are standing right here, because this is when they're waiting on the white dude so they can buy the building, because they're buying the building for the juke joint. So in this position right here, you can kind of already tell which one is more laid back, as Smoke is standing straight up. He's not leaning on anything, and he's waiting for the business guy. And Stack is leaned against the car, his arms on the seat, his knee is kicked up, and he looks like he's chilling. So in this situation, in this position, you can already tell just based off the body language who's like the more stricter and who's the more laid back of the twin. You can already tell that, okay? So that was really good. And body language is a really good way to tell, who is who. So that was really good. I really like that. I wish I could have did this review sooner, but my voice was kind of messed up, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I appreciate every single last one of you guys for watching, and the ones who will watch on the playback. Okay. Thank you guys very much after you see the film. All right. So I'm trying to give the spoiler-free review before we really get into it. So the twins pick up Sammy. Sammy is their little cousin. They pick up Sammy, and then they're talking about opening up the juke joint that night. It's opening night for the juke joint. So the twins have to split up. And you see Stack is going, and he picks up a couple of music artists, and then he picks up essentially the security and the bouncer. Okay. The music artist that he picks up, his name is, let me see if I have a picture of him. Oh, no. His name is Delta Slim. Delta Slim is the name of the guy he plays the saxophone and the piano. And what I like about his character is that even though he's a drunk, essentially, and he does a lot for alcohol, he's lived a very, and you're going to see, I don't want to spoil it too much, but he lived a very difficult, hard, harsh life in the film. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later on. Let me see. Let me pull up. I should have had his picture, should be loaded up right here. Hold on. Okay, hold on for 1 second, y'all. And then he picks up another guy who plays the essential security, and his name is Cornbread. He picks up Cornbread off of the plantation. Now, one of the things I also did enjoy about this, hold on. One of the things I also did enjoy about this film is that this film takes place in Mississippi in the 1930s. This is way after slavery. The twins come back from Chicago. They were from Mississippi, and then they went to Chicago. So for me personally, because that's like the story of my family, from Mississippi to Chicago, I like that. I like that take. The fact that out of everywhere they could have went, they went to Chicago, and apparently they were working with Al Capone, and they went to the military. So the twins had a big history, a long history, coming back from Chicago back to Mississippi. Now, this is after slavery, but you can still clearly tell that, sharecropping is a big thing. So you still have people picking cotton on the plantation. And I like that because it lets people know, and this is something that we've been saying for the longest time, that just after slavery ended, our people were still picking cotton on the plantation. Sharecropping was just really state-controlled slavery. Slavery just kind of manifested in a different way. It kind of changed from a slave owner to really the state is really owning the slaves, because they set up the rules and the conditions in such a way that essentially the slave labor that was being done during the slave trade was still being done after slavery. So it's not like black people were picking cotton up until 1865, and then after the Civil War and the 13th Amendment, now we're not picking cotton anymore. That's actually not what happened. So it just went from who owns it, which is very important. The ownership of the slaves is very important, and I think that it actually goes into this movie really well too. So I like the fact that they had that in there. Hold on for 1 second. I just got to set something up real fast. Okay, hold on. I want to show you guys a picture because I think that his acting was really phenomenal as well too. Delta Slim. All right. So that was really good. So they set up the juke joint. You have this character who has a relationship. Hold on, let me see something. Pull this picture up real quick. This character, okay, Mary is clearly a white girl, but in the film and actually in real life, she does have black ancestry. Her grandfather, I think it was like her grandfather or her great grandfather, I believe it is, actually was black. So especially during the 1930s, the one drop rule was in big effect then, where at this point she's passing, where she can pass for a white girl. You wouldn't look at her and say, okay, well, she's black. You wouldn't look at her and say that. But back in that time, they would look at her and be all like, okay, well, if I know you're a bit black, then you're black. You're either a Negro or you're not a Negro. And at that time, they were not playing no games. So she goes for the kind of tragic mulatto, and she has a relationship, or she had a relationship with one of the twins. I got the pictures all over the place. One of the twins, Stack. She had a relationship with Stack. All right. Where Stack left, he never came back. And you see there's tension between that. So later on in the film, now you see Smoke, and Smoke is with this other character and this other actress who plays the kind of like the hoodoo lady of the film, Annie. Okay, so you see Smoke and Annie, and Smoke and Annie also have a relationship with each other. Oh, it's had a grandfather who was black. Okay, that's her. So Smoke and Annie had a relationship with each other as well. I'm trying not to give too many spoilers, but they all, setting each other's business up. Stack goes to the town, and in the town he knows some Asians. And a lot of people was kind of upset about that. Like, there was Asians in Mississippi. There were a few Asians in Mississippi. And what's interesting about it, and I like the fact that Ryan Coogler actually included that, because what's interesting about it is you had one side of town where the colors could go, because this was back during Jim Crow. One side of town where the colors could go, and another side of town where the whites could go. But the Asians could go on both sides. The Asians were able to sell to the whites and the blacks. So what you had is a couple of Asians, a married couple, and you had one selling to the blacks and then one selling to the whites. All right. So that was really interesting how they did that. Now, the mother, and as it's important, this is important, the mother, the wife, whose name was Grace, was selling to the whites on the white side of town. The father, the husband, because they had a little daughter, the husband was selling to the blacks. Now you had Smoke, he goes in there and he's trying to make arrangements. He's trying to get things set up so he can open up the juke joint. So he gets everything set up so they can open up the juke joint. At this point in the movie, this is like a ways into the film. At this point in the movie, you haven't even seen the villain yet. You haven't seen the villain. There's nothing scary that popped off. You don't know what's really happening. It's not a vampire film. It doesn't even allude to it at this point. But it's so much. I think the first really half of the movie, almost leaning towards 2/3 of the movie, was such good character building and world building. Like, to me, I didn't feel like, where's this going? I was drawn in the movie, and there was certain points and dialogues in this movie that really connected and resonated with me personally. I think that the buildup of the movie was really well, especially if you like really in tune with foundational Black American culture in the South. It really gets you to the point where you're not wondering like, oh, where is this going? I've seen a lot of like non-FBAs be all like, I was confused, I didn't understand that. I understood that. There was a couple of scenes that I really liked about it. One of the scenes is where Sammy, who's also named Preacher Boy because he's the son of a preacher, and Stack, one of the twins, they're having a conversation as they're going around picking people up. And he was like, oh, how's Chicago? I heard they don't got Jim Crow up there. And then Stack is all like, Chicago is just Mississippi with big buildings instead of plantations. That was a very good part of dialogue that wasn't really needed in the film, but he put it in the film, and by putting that in the film, it really showed the world that they were in. That's really good world building and character building, and it means a lot to me because I talk about all the time here, especially when we talk about the Great Migration, how they like to frame the Great Migration was like the South was racist and the North was not racist, and Black people fled from the South to the North to escape racism. All right. And by Stack really saying that, no, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just we don't got plantations. We got big buildings out there. But it's really the same thing. That was really good. And that's something that we've been saying for the longest time. So shout out to him. Those very important pieces of dialogue meant a lot in the world building of this film. And why it meant so much is because it got you not just invested in the world, but it got you really invested and you felt connected to the characters. You felt you were able to understand their mind frames, the way they saw things, the way they dealt with things. You felt connected to the characters. All right. When Stack goes to like a train station. And when he goes to this train station, he goes to meet the character named Delta Slim. And Delta Slim, he plays the sax and he's well known for that, right? Let me show you a picture of him. And I think he did a really phenomenal job as well, too. So this is Delta Slim. He goes to pick him up, and then they're going around and they're, doing what they got to do. And as they're driving by, he sees a chain gang. He sees a whole bunch of Black people and they look like they have old prison suit. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but you can't. It is like spoilers because it doesn't really add to the plot. It just adds to the character building. He sees that. He waves to him, and then the overseer shoots, not at him, but he like shoots in the air, telling him to get back to work. Then Delta Slim goes on to tell a story about one of the friends he had back in the day that he used to, sing with and make money with. And he was going to, get a ticket and get free or whatever. And the Klan hung him. Okay, they found his money. They made up a story about him and they hung him. Man, let me tell you, that scene was very powerful. That was an incredibly powerful scene, because in that scene too, because the music is a big part of this movie, huge part. Okay, in that scene too, you see he's about to cry, like he's literally choking up, and then he closes his eyes and he starts hitting the side of the car and starts humming. And in that scene, it kind of shows you how music is a way we used to, it was therapeutic. Music is a very therapeutic form of art, and how he's using music to kind of process and deal with his pain, to heal from the pain, and to get not really get over, but able to is not just escape from it, but really deal with it. It's a healing, it's a way we deal and express ourselves. So in this scene, and there was multiple like small little bits of music in the scene, where music was a result of joy, music is a result of pleasure, music is a result of culture, music is a result of a lot of different things in this film. It was really good the way he put it. And I don't want to spoil it because I can't express it without you seeing it. You have to see it. That was a very powerful scene. And it really goes to show Delta's mind frame and what he's been through as the elder in the film. All right. So they get everything together. They get to the juke joint, whatnot, right? They get to the juke joint and they start, everybody's selling everything. And I'm not trying to spoil it. Everybody's doing everything. And this comes to one of what a lot of people, which I would say, including myself, is the best part of the movie. Because in the beginning of the movie, they say that there are people who are able to, their musical connection can like transcend like the physical world. All right. We got to understand this is still a fiction movie. This is still a horror movie, but they're trying to tie in like voodoo and Christianity and a lot of other things. So it's a very layered film, right? In the film, there are certain people whose musical abilities can like bridge or can kind of transcend the physical world to a degree, and they can kind of connect with not only their ancestors, but they can also connect with the descendants, with future tense. So they're kind of crossing into the past and in the future at the same time. Okay. So Sammy, preacher boy, he goes off and he starts singing. And as he's singing, it cuts away to a scene where Delta is talking to him. And what Delta was talking about was about, how blues is a part of Black culture, FBA culture. And then it goes back into the juke joint scene. And in the juke joint scene, now you're seeing like different ancestors. You're seeing like African ancestors come up, and then it goes into like the future. So they're like tying the past and the future in this continuity way. All right. So they're bringing the ancestors from, it's like bridging the gap of time. Absolute cinema. I've never seen it done anything like that before. It goes into this one take. It's not like these weird cut scenes either. It's this one take where the thing circle around, it circulates the room. It circles around the room in such an artistic way. A lot of people say it reminds them of this picture right here. Okay. And a lot of Black Americans have seen this picture. All right. And this picture is a picture. It's called the Sugar Shack. It's an art of a juke joint, and that's what the scene really represented to a lot of people. It showed DJs, it showed electric guitar, and it showed some African music and stuff like that. Um, it showed Crip walking, and I like that because especially because Ryan Coogler, he's locked in. He knows what FBA is and everything like that. So shout out to Ryan. I think he did that because there's a thing of Black Americans. We didn't really start hip hop, so we put like a little bit of hip hop in there to show that all of this stuff is like a point in time. Hip hop is a further point in time, but blues started that, and it started with a lot of other things. A lot of people are saying too, and this was a point where a little people were a little bit upset about it. Some people were upset about it because they was all like, oh, why did you have to include Africa? Oh, there was Africans in the film. So a lot of people were saying that, oh, this is kind of Pan-Africanism and all that stuff. And I personally, I don't think it was that. I didn't see that in the film. Now, when the film came out and I saw that, I'm like, okay, well, that's what people were talking about. Personally, though, I didn't see that. I didn't see that in the film. I didn't feel like he was pushing Pan-Africanism, because to a degree we do have a tie to Africa. We do have a percentage of our people did come from Africa, and we do have links to Africa. So I don't think it's like disrespectful to our lineage to acknowledge that, because I acknowledge that. The thing that I acknowledge is that ethnically we are different from the continent. We had an ethnogenesis upon not just arriving here, but upon slavery, really, because a lot of us were here beforehand. So we had an ethnogenesis. Now that doesn't completely disconnect us from our biological or DNA ties from Africa, just like it doesn't disconnect us from our indigenous history here. It really severs the tie, but there still is an ancestral link there to a degree, and it can be said and done respectfully. The thing is that when people bring it up, like, oh, you guys know that you have ancestry from Africa, a lot of people bring that up and they try to say that we don't belong here. We belong here as FBA. We belong here. That's the thing. We do belong here. This is 100% our land, but we can give to a degree, we can give acknowledgement to Africa, just like we give acknowledgement to our indigenous side. Now, but based off of the research that I have done, and you guys, if you guys have been here with me for years, you guys know that I lean more towards, or my research has resulted in the conclusion that majority of the people who would later become foundational Black Americans after the ethnogenesis were already here prior to the transatlantic slave trade. So this has been my argument based off of the research that I have done throughout the years, that we've most of us have been here prior to. All right. But I'm not one to deny that the transatlantic slave trade ever existed, because I know there are some who say that the transatlantic slave trade was never a thing. That's not my argument. I don't deny that. I have found proof that that did happen. I'm not denying that, So I think that if it can be done respectfully, which I think Ryan Coogler did do, it wasn't like an abundance. It didn't do too much with it. I think that it was done very tastefully. I think it showed cinema in a great way, like the past and the present and the future, and how it all connects together, and how everybody's dancing and enjoying each other's company. Even the Asians as well. It even goes into a little bit of the Asian ancestry as well too. How just by really, because I watched it twice, so kind of just by proxy, they have ancestral connection because of us. We're the source, but because of their closeness to us, that their ancestors were able to show up as well too. So that was very interesting art as well too. So it continues. Then you see, I'm not sure exactly when he popped off. This is the villain of the movie. His name is Remick. Remick is the villain. He's a vampire. Okay. The lore has said from the Sinners, because they came out with like different articles or something like that in the Spotify thing, that he's been around for like thousands of years or something. He's a vampire. He's the main vampire. And it's interesting, and I think that is very important, that he's an Irish immigrant. All right, very important, because they don't really depict vampires as Irish. So he's an Irish immigrant. Now he goes to, the first time you see him, not trying to do too many spoilers, but the first time you see him, he goes to the this family who happens to be Klan to seek refuge. Eventually, something happens. Native Americans show up, and there was a little tie. It's a small little tie where the Klan didn't want, because he's like, "Oh, the natives are chasing me." And he's all like, "Don't you mean, you probably mean niggas, like fair-skinned niggas are chasing you?" Which we've been saying for the longest time, that like, we are native here. We are native here. So Ryan actually does drop that little Easter egg in the film. You know what I'm saying? Without it being too like forcefully so. You know, because that's not really what the movie's about, but that was really good how he did that. Okay. So we dropped that in there. I was like, I caught it. I caught it. Okay. I caught it, because he's like, ain't no, don't you mean fair-skinned niggas? So you clearly mean that we look so much like natives where we can be mistaken for each other. Okay. And the reason why he said niggas is because natives aren't around here, because this is after, you know, they had, you know, I think the Trail of Tears and all that. So he did actually put that in the movie. All right. So he winds up infecting them, turning them into vampires. So everybody's doing their thing at the juke joint. I'm not trying to put no spoilers out, but he does come up. Remick comes up to the juke joint, and in vampire lore, you can't enter somebody's home without being invited, without permission. So he's asking them, he's like, "Hey, can you guys let me in?" So everybody pulls up at the door. The bouncer gets the guys, and everybody pulls up at the door. And they all like, "I think you lost. We're like, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm here for a party. I heard there's a party." Da 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 da. And then he starts playing the banjo, like, "Hey, we got money, we can sing, we can dance, we just want to be in, we want to be invited," and all of that stuff. Coming off very friendly and harmless, very important, friendly and harmless. He came off right, and they looking and they getting a very uncomfortable, like, "Nah, this don't make no sense. Why there's three lonely white folk out here in the middle of the night? Nah, I'm not really feeling that." Now, what's interesting is that you can clearly tell Smoke, which is the Michael B. Jordan in Blue, he wasn't feeling it at all. But Stack, as they were singing, Stack was kind of like bopping his head a little bit. He was like, maybe. But eventually he was like, "Oh, okay, go, right?" So, not trying to give too much of, because I want you guys to see the film. Not trying to give too much away. So they leave, but he's all like, "Okay, we ain't gonna be far in case you change your mind." The reason why, very important, the reason why Remick, the villain, came there in the first place is because the music that Sammy was playing and how he was able to connect with his ancestry across timelines, it attracted Remick. That's what drew Remick to the juke joint. Now, a lot of people are saying things like it was kind of, the movie was disrespectful to Christianity. And there were some parts where the movie was, I would say, critical of Christianity, but I think they tied in the like voodoo and Christianity and played the kind of like the dichotomy between the two without making one seem like it was totally wrong and one seeming like it was the other one seeming like it was totally wrong, because there was foreshadowing, because the father did say, "Hey, you keep dancing with the devil and the devil's going to follow you home." And in the juke joint, as he's dancing, and they used to call blues the devil's music, okay, historically. So as he's dancing, right, as Sammy is playing, and he's able to really essentially be like the avatar to connect everything to the ancestors, that's what attracts essentially the devil, which would be Remick. Okay. Now, a lot of people are talking about, well, Remick, he's like he doesn't play like a racist white supremacist. Remick isn't racist and all that stuff. He's an interesting villain. He is a very interesting villain, and I love the way that Ryan wrote him. But let me be abundantly clear. Remick and the vampires absolutely represented white supremacy. Let me be 110% clear with that. Him and the vampires absolutely represented white supremacy. Okay? So that's as far as I'm going to go without actually giving too much away as far as the plot is. Well, let me go a little bit farther. Okay? So what happens then is that, first off, in the juke joint, they was getting it on in that juke joint. Lord have mercy. Oh my goodness. I said, this is why the South got so many babies. They was getting down in that juke boy, preacher boy, and all of that stuff too. Oh my God. I said, whoa. Y'all better make sure them doors is locked. They made sure them doors was locked too. They had to make sure them doors was locked because they was getting down. Oh, they was doing some nasty things in that juke joint. They was getting down. Oh boy. I said, oh yeah, this is a rated R film. I said, this is a rated R film for real. Okay. I said, I see where all them babies came from. All right. Yeah. Everybody in the movie. Stack, Smoke, Preacher Boy. They was Annie, Mary, Pearlie, what's her name? Percy, the other black lady in the film. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. They was ready. They was hot and ready in that movie. So what happens then is that they get into a situation where they realize that the money that they're bringing in isn't really going to sustain the juke joint for a long period of time. So Stack tells, now what's interesting about this is that when Smoke sees Mary, the white girl, he tells Stack to have her leave. Stack doesn't really want her to leave because Stack is actually in love with her. All right, they had a relationship, but they can't be together because this is the 1930s. He's a black man. She's a very white passing man. It's very dangerous for both of them to be together. Okay, so he's talking to her. She is the one who says, okay, I can go out and talk to them white folks. Them white folks said that they had money. I can go talk to the white folks. They come back, right? So she's out there talking to the white people, Remick and all that. He turns around, he turns her into a damn vampire. Which you see in the trailers. That's not a major spoiler because you see that in the trailers that she's a vampire. Turns into a vampire. She come back. She hooking up with Stack. Wind up turning him into a vampire. All right, turning him into a vampire. Then that's when like the movie gets really serious or whatever. So they not really understanding what's going on. The security dude, he had left. He came back. I don't want to give the scene away because I think that was a really good scene, but they had Stack in the room. They found out he was a vampire. I don't really want to give it away, but they found out he was a vampire, right? Okay, that was Annie. Annie found out, realized, because she's like the hoodoo lady. She finds out he was a vampire, right? So now they got to find out how to deal with vampires. Now, what's interesting is that Remick comes back. He comes back and he's trying to tell them, like, hey, y'all come out here. Now, no, hold on. Let me not skip past this part. After Stack, because Stack had to die. After Stack dies, the Asian couple who was there doing business, the Asian couple was about to bounce. And it was really the Asian woman who said, okay, we got to go. And the Asian man was like, hey, no, Stack just died. There's a problem. And the Asian lady was like, hey, no, we got a daughter, we got to go. And then he's like, all right, I'm gonna get the car. Clearly, I knew he was gonna die. He got bit, right? So he leaves, right? Very important. Very important. I'm gonna get to why that's important a little bit later, right? So that happens, and Remick comes back. And Remick comes back and he's all like, hey man, it's good on this side. We ain't got no racism over here. It's all good. You can live forever. Just join us. Everybody's going to be one big I am the world. All lives matter. Just come over here. Let us in. It's okay. Came off friendly. To a degree. Very kind of almost trying to charm them into letting him back in. Or letting him in, because he never came in at that point. Right? Then you see later on, they don't let him in. Some more stuff happened. Now, what also is interesting about this is that they also had like a dance scene where Remick has a dance scene in the film. Remick has a dance scene. Hold on. Hold on. In the film. And he's playing like a Irish music or whatever the case is. And in the film, it kind of shows like the opposite effect. Because in his film, as he was doing all that dancing and all that stuff, you got a totally different feeling from when Sammy was doing all of the music. Okay, this is like, and this is all of this stuff is really in the trailer. So in the film, he's out there doing this stuff. And you see a whole bunch of people surrounding him and they, doing the Irish dances and all of that stuff. Now, I'm gonna stop it right there. And I'm gonna get into the thing. And there was one like super final part that I think the ending of the movie gave it an extra star. The very ending. The ending was so good. I don't even want to tell you what the absolute like last little scene was. But that was like cinema. I felt like he did it for the culture. I felt like the last part, I felt like he did it for the culture. I said, thank you, Ron. I like to see that. I definitely like to see more of that. That right there, love it. Because he didn't even have to, the movie with the vampire part was already done. But he just threw in that last little, you know what? I got y'all, and he did it. So I'm not gonna spoil that part. But why I say, and now I want to get to the character breakdown. Why I say that Remick and the vampires represented white supremacy. And he compared it, and what's interesting is he has a scene where he's trying to convince them to come out, and he tells them like, oh yeah, y'all know the Klan was gonna come back here and take this anyway. Y'all was never really even gonna have this because the Klan was coming back to take this. I'm getting into spoilers now. Now I gotta spoil it. The Klan was gonna come back and take this anyway. So y'all might as well come over here with us. We don't like the Klan. We're gonna get the Klan. We don't like the Klan. Okay. He never insults the black people. He insults the Klan, actually. So a lot of people like, that's not racist. That's not, or he's not racist. He's a villain, but he's not racist. Now, why he is? Why I tell you it's important that he's an Irish immigrant, because a lot of people were online comparing Foundation Black American struggle to the Irish struggle. All right. Well, it's very interesting. That's interesting because the Irish were also colonized and oppressed, and Christianity was also forced on them and everything. There was slight, not all the way, but there was slight parallels to Irish oppression and FBA oppression. Not nearly the same. Like they're like at a level 4 compared to our 10, but there are parallels, right? What I find interesting in the movie, though, just like with the Irish in real life, was after all the oppression that the Irish went through, the second they got the ability to oppress another group of people, that's what they did. So with all of the, because Remick talks about how he's missing his ancestors, which is why he's going after Sammy, because Sammy can essentially cross that bridge like an avatar. And he's trying to connect with his ancestors, and he's talking about the struggle of his ancestors. But the thing is that the what's going on is that he wants it to be on his terms. He wants it to be on his terms. A lot, and that's why he's telling them, oh, come with us, I'm friendly and all that stuff. Just like the Irish, who they have not at all gone through what we have gone through as far as the strife is concerned. But there are points in times when they were oppressed. Like all of these other groups, and I like that. All of these other groups of people have been oppressed, not to the degree, okay, not to the extent, not nearly as long, but they've been oppressed by the system of white supremacy to a degree or another. But the second that they get an opportunity, instead of fighting against that, they also join in on the oppression. The second the Irish got the opportunity to become white, that's what they did. And they became white and then started oppressing other black people. The same way the vampires, the Irish and the vampires did, okay? They started oppressing other people. What I like about this is because he's all like, oh, it's so great, just come over here, so great. But as he's dancing, you can clearly tell all of these black people around him are dancing to not their music, Irish music. They're doing an Irish dance. And you don't get the feeling of everybody is enjoying themselves. It's all culture. It's all love. It's all great. You get like this is a hive mind. It's almost the same exact scene, but just the opposite feeling of it. You don't get the feeling of bopping your head and enjoying anything. You get almost this very dark and sad feeling. Okay? The feeling that everybody is under the control of the white supremacists. And this is how white supremacy operates. So you have to understand that. Because he's all like, hey, we're not like them. I don't want to oppress you. I just want for clearly your culture, and I want to control it as mine. Because he's taking them things, and he can take their memories as well too. He's taking their memories as the master. He's all like, you can come with me, and I love your culture as long as I can control your culture, and I can control your people. Your people are good, but they're better under my control as the master. Life would be so much better if I was your master, which is essentially what Remick is trying to force on everybody. That's essentially what he's trying to do. He's forcing, why I say is racism, he's forcing, essentially, because he's a vampire supremacy in the film. He's forcing his group of people as the supreme leaders and rulers against the will of other people. Because it's not like they're asking to be vampires. He's forcing them to do that. And under his subjugation and under his control. All right. And it's very interesting that he's specifically looking for Sammy. Okay. Who's like a musical genius. And he's also like kind of like an avatar to a degree. So that was very interesting. And what that goes to show is that white supremacy is very deceptive, like the wolf and the fox. White supremacy doesn't, because you have Klan members in here and they'll say the N-word and all that stuff. And then you have people who are like, oh no, I believe in equality. I love black people as long as I am in control, as long as I am the master and you guys are serving my agenda. Because the second he gets all these black people there, they start dancing to what? Irish music. They're not themselves. They're essentially an extension of him. And this is what he wants for everybody, to push his culture on everybody. He's using us because he likes the way we can do certain things, and he likes our talent and ability, but he wants to be able to control it for his own purposes. All right, the same way white supremacy does. So it's an allegory of white supremacy. It's a lot of people online like, oh, this shows that the Irish and the black people, we're really just kind of like two sides. No, we're not two sides of the same coin. People need to stop that, because we're not two sides of the same. I don't know why people saying that. It's not the truth. All right. Because like I said, the Irish, because knowing about world history is important. The Irish oppression, the meter goes up to 4, I would say, at tops. Ours go up to 10, and then it keeps just going and going and going and going, and it's never really gone down. So Irish oppression is not nearly as severe as FBA oppression, but there are certain things as far as the colonization and the forcing of religion that are parallels. So when I say parallels, I'm not making equation. I'm not equalizing them. I'm not saying they're equal. I'm saying there are parallels. Those are two different words. All right. Okay. Y'all saying that he was a vampire Eminem. Yeah. It was. Now he's Irish. And this goes to show, because of Irish immigrants, this also goes to show how a lot of people are like, well, Irish were enslaved too. And then we said, well, yeah, but the second y'all got the ability to oppress black people, that's what y'all did. That's exactly what they did. There was Irish people. Look up the first, and Torian is in the chat room. Shout out to Torian. He did a review. Look at the first black massacre in New York. A lot of that was done by the Irish in New York for the Civil War, because they didn't want to be drafted in the Civil War. So what Irish people did in New York was they just started massacring a whole bunch of black people. This is real history. It happened up in New York, right? So when they talk about the Irish were enslaved too, no. When they came here as indentured servants who had really a working contract. Okay, they were not treated as 1/3 of a human, or 3/5, I'm sorry, of a human. They weren't treated like that. They weren't treated like cattle. They just were indentured servants, right? And the second they started getting rights as white people, they started using those rights to join white supremacy in oppressing black people. Okay. So this is what he's doing, but he's doing it he doesn't appear malicious. Okay. And this is one of the things that goes into how the devil comes to you. The devil doesn't come to you saying, hey, I'm the devil and I want you to do this because, this is evil. The devil tempts you, and the devil tries to persuade you into what you want. The devil comes to you in a very manipulative way. So this is this kind of reflects that. It's a good metaphor for that. All right. Also, there was a couple of other things that I want to say. A couple of other things. Now, the Asian lady, where's the picture? The Asian lady later on, because this is spoilers, right? Remember, the Asian lady I said initially wanted to leave the second that there was problems. She wanted to leave. She was the one who convinced her husband that they need to leave, because her husband was going to stay. But she was convincing her husband that they wanted to leave. And this also reflects how us with these people of color and all of this stuff, us with that is a very exploitive relationship. Okay, it's not really an allyship or a camaraderie. She never saw it as an allyship and a camaraderie. The Asians saw it as, this is business. I don't really care about you, black people. I care about my own self-interest. So this shows really the exploitation that Asians and other non-white, non-blacks, okay, other people of color, so to speak, use to exploit black people. Because the second, now they're there for the money, they're there for the opportunity, just like when we do they're there for our money and our opportunity and our business, just like Asians in real life. They'll put their businesses and all that stuff in our communities in real life. They'll get money off of our work in real life. Now when there's a problem, you don't see them around. Anytime black people need help, they're not there. Just like the other people of color, the Hispanics, Arabs, Asians, all that, they're never there. Okay. All right. So that scene right there, where she was all, oh, it's a problem. Oh, we came for the money. We ain't come for all this. We got to go. Okay. So he leaves, gets the car. Now, what's interesting is that now they find out that there was vampires and everything like that. So all of them is hold on. All of them kind of getting their stuff ready to go, and they getting all of the garlic and the wood, because you got to with vampire lore, you got to stab a vampire with wood in the heart, or you got to use like garlic or silver bullets and stuff. So they're using vampire lore, okay, and I like that. That was accurate. And they was trying to convince her she needs to calm down, because her husband was out there trying to like charm her, like, come on, baby, let's go. And they was like, no, we got to stay here till day. They can't survive in the day. They had made a threat towards like, hey, we're going to get your daughter if you don't come out here with us, right? And she started like tweaking. She gets to tweaking, right? They like, calm down. All of them outside, so they ain't nobody going to go get your daughter. Ain't nobody leaving this area because they want Sammy. So they're not going to leave because they don't want us to escape. So really that was a lie to try to get her to tweak, and which she did. She completely tweaked out. So in there, she just start. I'm talking about she tweaking. Another thing too in the movie where Smoke is like literally his twin brother just died in his arms. Okay. Horrific. Now it turns out your twin brother is a vampire. And the building is surrounded by vampires. The brother's going through a lot. And I guess she's going through a lot. She just lost her husband. So he's like trying to process what to do. And she's like, oh, I thought you was a soldier. I thought you was a soldier. You ain't gonna do this. You ain't gonna do that. The taunting. Okay. And this also goes to show how in real life, kind of like, I don't want to diverge too much on this, but like how in situations where like a woman's emotions gets her riled up. She wants to do something. She don't know what to do. She just wants to do something. Smoke is actually trying to think of like a plan or a solution or something. I mean, they didn't know that vampires existed, or he didn't believe none of that stuff existed until that night. So he's sitting up there trying to think of something, and then she starts really taunting him and really insulting his masculinity. And what I like about that is that he stands up, but he doesn't like give into the feeling of like being taunted. He stands up, but he doesn't like, oh yeah, you're right, let's charge out there and go get him, or nothing like that. He doesn't let her emotions and her being overly emotional dictate his actions, which is different from her actual husband. Okay. Now remember, her husband said, hey, we're going to stay here. We're going to stay here. And then she was like, no, we got to go. And she winds up convincing him to go. All right. And then she tries to pull that with Smoke. She tries to pull that with Smoke, and Smoke is like, hey, we ain't going to do that. Okay. I'm not letting your emotional ass get us all eaten up by these vampires. So the vampires sitting up there circling around, or whatever the case is. She's literally losing her mind. I'm talking about she is tweaking. She tweaks so much, y'all, to the point where she invites all of them in. Okay. She just invites them in. Now, they can't come in until they get invited, no matter how powerful they are. They sit up there waiting outside for some way to get in, but they can't get. That's why they taunting them to come out, but they can't get in because they're not getting invited. She screams to the top of her lung for all of them to come in. This also goes to show, hold on. This also goes to show how this people of color stuff. Oh yeah, the garlic eating scene. Everybody had to, because this is vampire lore and stuff like that. I don't want to give too much spoilers away, but they all, because they all had to make sure that they're not vampires, so they all had to eat a clove. I think it was called a clove of garlic to see that, and that was a cool scene or whatever. None of them were vampires in there, right? So as she's screaming to let them come in, it also goes to show how the Asian chick, the non-black people are the ones causing the problems, because she essentially betrays and sacrifices the whole group for her interest. Because she it's called a clove. Oh, thank you. Delroy was tripping in that scene. Okay, Slim. She betrays the group because she gets too emotional, and this goes to show how when it comes to the Black and Asian coalition or the Black and non-black coalition, how they're ready to dip out. They're ready to dip out the second there's problems, and she betrays the group for her interest. Okay, she completely betrays the entire group. Yep. I was looking at, I can't pull up too many pictures because I don't want to get in trouble with them. Yeah, that's what, so they start this fight scene. This is a metaphor to show the danger and the exploitative relationship that FBA have with non-black people of color. Okay, the people of colors, the Asians, the Hispanics, and all of that stuff. This goes to show that, as far as that is concerned, right? Because she's there for the money. When there's problems, she want to leave. Now, when there's a solution, everybody else, notice Sammy, Delta Slim, Annie, Smoke, right? The other girl, Pearl, I forgot her name. What is the other girl's name? Hold on. The other girl, because there was another black lady there. Okay. Her name was Pearly, I think her name was, or Pearl. What was her name in the chat room? I know y'all know it. Hold on. Pearline. Thank you, Torian. Pearline. Okay. Everybody else, thank you. Everybody else was locked in on code. Everybody's freaking out, but nobody's overreacting. It was the Asian chick, this non-black chick, she knowing that they couldn't beat all of the vampires and all of them live. She knew that. Pearline. That's what was this? Where are my glasses? I got my glasses right here. Okay. Knowing that she couldn't do that. All right. Y'all want I'll put the glasses on if y'all want them. Right. Knowing that they couldn't do that, but she's just tripping. Okay. Goes to show how these non-black people will throw us under the bus. Okay. Under the bus. The second thing is she went for her husband, stabbed her husband with the wooden plank. They both, because she threw a Molotov, okay, and he deflected it, so she wound up in flames. So they both burned to death. So they both wind up dying. Okay, so now everybody else is fighting the vampires and stuff, right? I want to get to the scene. Let me get to, and I think this is important too, the character Annie and what she means in the film. The fact that they have a tragic mulatto in the film that essentially Stack couldn't let go. Stack couldn't let it go. All right. Even when Smoke told him, he was like, hey, you're going to have to let it go. Stack didn't want to, because Stack is in love with her. All right. Stack didn't want to let her go. Stack he kept getting involved with her. when it was her idea to go talk to the vampires. Well, of course she didn't know they were vampires. He was all like, Stack was like, nah, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't really think that, right? That's Mary. Oh, did I say Annie? That was Mary. Okay, that's Mary. My bad. That's Mary. The white lady is Mary. Stack says that's not a good idea. She insisted because she's like, well, look at me. I would have an easier time talking to them than you. She is white, but in the film, her grandfather is black. So in real life, I think the name is Heine Steinfeld, Haley Steinfeld, or something like that. She also has like a black grandparent or something to that effect. All right. So she goes out there and she talks to him. And she gets kind of, you know, personal with him, or whatever the case may be. She gets personal. She realizes that they kind of like a problem. She tries to leave. She couldn't. But Haley Steinfeld, thank you, Tori. But this goes to show how when it comes to mixed people have a thing. And earlier in the film, she was all like, I didn't want to be white. I want to be with you. I didn't want that. Like, she don't want to be white and stuff. Mixed people, I think that was a metaphor for really mixed people having an issue with their identity, like an identity crisis to a degree. And sometimes they think that they can be the bridge between black sides and the white side, where she can go into the juke joint full of black people and have a drink and enjoy herself and all of this and have fun. But she can also go back and talk to Remick and those Irish white people. And she thinks that because she can be on both sides, that's not dangerous for her. And this goes into a lot of the confusion that we do see with mixed people. We do see with that, okay? Where you see mixed people be all like, I'm black. Now, in the film, she was only like, I think like not even full, like 25 maybe percent black. It's not like she's half black. Okay. She's not like half black. Okay. She was only like, I think a quarter black. And I think in real life, she's only like what, like 15% black or something like that. Okay. So she is white, but in the film, it's like white passing. Okay. Which you can kind of see. You can kind of see that, right? And it goes to show how when you think that you can kind of be on the fence and play both sides, like, oh no, they're gonna be cool with me. I can be on this side and be on this side. And a lot of mixed people, they be all like, hold on, I'm black and I'm white, so I understand my white side of the family, and I don't understand my black side of the family too. And I'm black, but I don't want to divorce my white side. I love my white side, but I love my black side. You see a lot of that going on with mixed people. Okay. So this film, I think, illustrates that, and it shows that how she thought that she should be the one to go out there and try to get the money. Okay. And what she did, she got money, but she got a little bit more than money. She got more than what she asked for. Okay. She got more than what she asked for. Okay. So that shows that. Now, I want to get to one of these two characters right here. Let me get to Smoke and Stack as we're breaking this stuff down. With Smoke, and I want to this is a spoiler. This is a spoiler. In the movie, it's Stack tells Sammy essentially Smoke killed their father. Smoke killed their father to protect Stack. And twins tend to have like a joking thing that they do where there's like an older one and a younger one, even though they're born together. But one of them clearly has to come out first, and then the other one has to come out behind them. So whoever comes out first is like the oldest technically, even though technically they're both twins. They were both really born at the same time, but one comes out first. So in this scene, you see Smoke is the older brother. He's the one who comes out first, and then Stack is almost like the younger brother. They almost have a older brother, younger brother type of relationship. And Stack, and shout out to Michael B. Jordan. I think he played both twins excellently, masterfully. Okay. Smoke, the guy in the blue. Smoke is very stern, very business-like, or whatever the case is. But in scenes in the movie, you can see where Smoke is he's a little too strict. He's a little bit like too stern and too militaristic, or whatever the case is. Like he doesn't, it's like he's very business minded, but he's like very militaristic to a degree. And it's a little bit sometimes more than need be. All right. And I like the fact that they didn't just show him as the super logical when he does have flaws to a degree, which would make sense during that time. And then him having to kill his father to protect his younger brother, his twin brother. Right. So it goes to show that, like, especially with his brother being kind of so laid back, and when they have stuff like that, if the brother's laid back, then the twin has to be more strict to protect his younger brother. Okay. And they allude to that multiple times. So if he's the protector of the twins, he has to be a little bit more assertive than the other one. And you see Smoke is very laid back. He's more charming. He's more of a people person. He's more easygoing. And when I watched it the second time, you don't really see Smoke smiling at all, but you see Stack is smiling, laughing, getting along with people. But Stack is too laid back. Okay, Stack is too laid back. That's the thing, and I like the fact that they did that. Okay, because as you can see, just based off the body language, Smoke. There was a scene in the film where Smoke was there was a scene in the juke joint where one of the people who was paying, they paid with like a couple of nickels. Now, mind you, just back in the 1930s. And then he said, "Oh, I get these like wooden coins, but they're good at like certain locations. It's not like real money." And originally, Smoke was not going. But Stack was like, "Oh no, you cool. And you see them arguing about it. And he was in the room too. He was like, "Man, no, we need money, man. We can't be serving these people like this. This ain't no charity. What are we doing?" And as you can see, he's like super on the business. And Stack is like, "No, let kind of, these people are here to kind of let their hair down. Like let's let them enjoy themselves. They worked hard. This is essentially their escape. Okay, this is their escape from all of the hardship and the difficulty of racism and white supremacy and sharecropping and all of that stuff. Let's let them have a good time." All right, so as you can see, the fact that Stack is sent up there, Smoke don't want none of them to go. He's not going for it. He's a little bit too much. There was even a point in time where he tells Sammy that, "Hey, I don't want you to go, but I don't want you to be in no juke joint or whatever the case is. Go be with your dad. Go play gospel music." And Sammy was like, "Nah, I'm not really trying to do all that." And then it's to a degree where Smoke pulls a gun out on him and says, "Hey, I'll kill you if you keep on doing." Now that's his way of being protective of that. That's his way of being protective. But to a degree, it's a little much. It's a little too protective, right? So he has flaws there too, where he's like too strict. There was even a point where he was talking to Annie earlier in the film. He's all like, "Man, I don't believe in none of that ghosts and goblins and all that stuff. All I believe is power and money. That's all I believe in." That's kind of where he was coming from with it. Where, as you can see, Stack is more laid back, charming, all of that stuff. But like I said, he's too much that, because when they were at this scene right here, and they didn't want, where is it? Where they weren't allowing the white people to come in, Stack was actually gonna let them in. Because Stack and Smoke had a small talk afterwards. He was like, "Oh man, they might be here. They might just be, trying to enjoy their time and all that stuff. Why are we being so strict?" So this is Stack being too laid back, because Smoke was all like, "Nah, if they come in." Now, of course, they didn't know they were vampires at the time, but if they come in, these are 3 white people. There's going to be some problems. There's a whole bunch of black people. There's alcohol. If it goes left, we're going to have a lot of problems on our hands. We're going to have a whole lot of problems on our hands. So in that situation, you can clearly tell that Stack is too laid back. And he's so laid back that he also invites danger. When he's dealing with Mary, not Annie, Mary, the white girl, when he's dealing with her, he's inviting danger. He knows that technically she's a married woman. He's still messing with her or whatever. And this is after his brother told him, "Hey, Mary gotta go. Mary shouldn't even be there. Okay. She shouldn't even be in that juke joint. She gotta go." But Stack, being too lenient, didn't want her to go. So it shows to a degree how there's a balance with both, because there's a lot of people who have a more strict personality, a more like militaristic personality, business mind. I'm always focused. I'm always about the business. I'm always handling business. And then you have somebody who's more laid back, more chill, kind of more friendly to a degree. But it doesn't show one being good and one being bad. It shows there can be flaws in both of them. I think that was really good art. So shout out to Ryan for that. It was really good art. Now, ultimately, it turned out to be where Stack was the one who let his guard down too much, and he's the one who got bit and turned into a vampire. All right. So that happened there. He got bit and turned into a vampire. Now, going forward, I don't have too many pictures for this, but there was a fight scene in the film, where they're trying to, because Remick is trying to get to Sammy. So they're trying to protect Sammy, and it also shows that Delta Slim sacrificed himself so all of the rest of them could get away. Unfortunately, Annie, the black girl, the black lady, she was bit, and she told Smoke to promise her that he wasn't going to let her be turned into a vampire. And he had to put a wooden stake through her chest and essentially killing her so she wouldn't turn into a vampire. So she had died. The Asian lady had died. And then as they were trying to get away, you saw Delta Slim, which was old drunk, and everybody was calling him that the whole time, the old drunk. He had to sacrifice himself so that Sammy could get away. So this also goes to show too how we shouldn't be too ready to dismiss people. We absolutely shouldn't be ready to dismiss people, because they're still willing to fight for the cause. As flawed as they are, as traumatized as they are, they're still ready to sacrifice themselves for the cause. Now, in the film, you see Annie is like the hoodoo lady, right? She gives Smoke, because she has a previous relationship with Smoke. Why does that keep popping up? She has a previous relationship with Smoke, and she gives him like this amulet thing where she like hooks it up with the voodoo thing, and she puts like stuff on it, and this is to protect him. And it's interesting because he's fighting in the scene. There's a fight scene with Stack and Smoke, and they're fighting each other, and Stack goes in to bite his brother on the neck, and he can't do it. He can't do it. Now, I saw it twice, and in the second time, I noticed that when he goes down for the bite, it's like there's like a force that's pushing him off, and you hear like a ringing sound going off. And I believe, it didn't explain it, but I believe that was the charm that Annie gave Smoke to protect him. Okay. That was the necklace that he gave him to protect him. Then there was a scene later on, the mojo bag. Then it was a scene later on, hold on, where eventually Remick actually catches Sammy. And they're in this lake. They're not too deep in it, but they're in the lake. And it was almost like a crazy baptism. And this also is, it kind of shows like the Christianity is almost like he was mocking Christianity to a degree, what Remick was doing. Because then Sammy starts praying. And then Remick starts praying with him. Remick starts praying the same prayer with him. And he was all like, hey, yeah, they forced my people to be Christian too. And he's talking about Irish people. They forced my people to be Christian too, and it didn't really work. And then there was this like kind of like a fake baptism thing. All right. And it's kind of in Ryan, I think, put that in there to show that there are people who rely a lot on Christianity or whatever. But the thing is that Christianity was forced on a lot of us foundation Black Americans. Now, going into the history of Christianity, we can go into the history of Christianity. A lot of people act like that's the white man's religion. Christianity does predate European Christianity in Africa, actually, if you understand that. But I'm just talking about the movie to a degree, because that's when a lot of people was all like, oh, this is dissing Christianity. It's dissing Christianity. I didn't feel like it was that way. I didn't get that from that. But then that's when Smoke comes up and stabs Remick. Remick dies, and then the sun comes up and everybody runs away. All right. So then Sammy goes back to his dad, all torn up, bloody beat. But one thing I liked about it, one thing I absolutely, hold on, you can't, brother, if you cannot hear, everybody in the chat room can hear me, brother. Like, if you can't hear me, you probably got some Bluetooth on or something like that. One thing I absolutely loved about this film was the last part. Now, remember, now this is a spoiler, but it's a good one. Remember in the beginning, or not in the beginning, when they bought the thing from the white man, and he was like, hey, Smoke asked, are y'all clan? He was like, oh, ain't no clan around here. Ain't no clan around here. What y'all mean? Then Remick told him, he was all like, hey, y'all know the clan was coming back to get y'all. Y'all was never going to have this anyway. The clan was just going to come back and they was going to kill all y'all. So what happens then is that Smoke, he sets up a booby trap towards the end of the film. And a shout out to Ryan Coogler for this. Oh, this was cinema. I loved it so much. I did. I said, I could, look, if he want to make a whole movie based off of this stuff, I would go and support that. So Smoke, he's like hiding off in the bushes and he got his gun planted all over the place. So when the clan pops up, to essentially kill everybody in the juke joint, then Smoke, he starts sniping a couple of them. He snipe a couple of them, then he pick up this Tommy gun, he's chopping them up, and he's gone. Just great scene, absolutely great scene. Everybody, shout out! Can we put some fireball emojis in the chat room for this amazing scene? Okay, it's one of the best scenes, one of the absolute best scenes. Now, remember, I told you, Smoke, he was a gangster, and he was also in the army. He was also in the army as well too. So he really knows how to get down. Him and Stack, they really both know how to get down. You can see they both really good at fighting. They both really good at all that stuff. They really know how to get down. So he was just chopping them up. He was absolutely chopping them up, right? He gets shot. And like he's bleeding out or whatever the case is. And there was a scene where he takes off his necklace. And then he can look back. He looks and he kind of like sees the afterlife to a degree. He sees it. And he sees Annie and their baby because they actually had a baby that passed away. I didn't want to say that earlier. I want to save like the super spoilers to the end. He sees their baby, and the movie implies that he died and he was in the afterlife with them and the baby. Okay. And then you go back to Sammy. Sammy goes into the church, and the dad, he hugs the son or whatever, but in that the guitar is like broke. He only got the handle of the guitar because he hit Remick in the head, breaking the guitar. And he was all like, "Hey, put the guitar down, put it down." And you can tell that Sammy still doesn't want to put the guitar down. He doesn't want to put the guitar down. Then it was a mid credit scene where you see Sammy. He was played by an actual blues artist. I forgot the name of the blues artist he was played by, but he goes on to have a big career, successful career as a blues singer. So clearly he went on. You still see the scar on his face. He went on to, play the blues and all that. But Buddy Guy, yeah, he's an actual real blues singer, and he played the older version of Sammy, and this was in the 90s. Okay. So this is 60 years past the events that was going on. Okay. And then in the mid-credit scene, then you see Smoke and Mary come in or whatever. And which is interesting because everybody thought that they was dead. Because the last thing you saw was that Smoke was Stack and Annie. But the last thing you saw was Smoke was about to kill Stack. And that's what it implied. But apparently Smoke made a deal with Stack saying that, hey, if you leave Sammy alone, don't hunt Sammy, leave him be or whatever, I'm not going to kill you. And Stack kind of honored that deal. And he's going up to Smoke. He's going up to Sammy, and they chopping it up. Like, this is like kind of like just like real Stack. Stack is not like trying to bite him or do anything like that. Even though Stack does say like, hey, you want to, I can turn you into a vampire if you want to. And then Sammy's like, hey, nah, I'm cool. And he was like, all right, okay, cool. So he's not forcing his being a vampire on him. Very interesting, right? So essentially Sammy, Stack, and Mary, they're together as a couple like they always wanted to be. I think it was great because in this film, it sets up so much. The lore and the building of it sets up so much where you can make different sequels, prequels, and spin-offs to this very film. This film can be the foundation of a whole Sinners franchise if Ryan Coogler wanted it. All right. Now, a lot of people were upset. Let me show you some of these videos real quick. Speaking of that, there was a couple of things I wanted to say. A couple of videos that I wanted to play real quick. Hold on. A lot of people. Hold on. Somebody sent. No, not now. I want to show you this. A lot of people were upset because Ryan Coogler essentially got one of the best deals ever. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And he got first dibs on the profits. And he gets, because directors normally get like the money after the film has made a profit, but he gets first dibs. So it takes a while for a movie to make a profit, because with movies, you got to equal and then surpass the amount of money it took to make the movie. So it took $90 million to make this movie. That doesn't even account for advertisement, but the film altogether took $90 million to make. So the movie has to surpass that really by, a lot of people say like 2 times, really by about 3 times for you to say this was a profitable movie. So if it takes 90 million to make and you make 100 million, then you only made $10 million in profit, which you might think is a lot, but now you got to divide that with everybody, which you really didn't make that much of a profit. Then you got advertisement. So most of the directors, they get that money after the movie's made a profit. Ryan made a deal where he could get that movie before. And a lot of people was like, they don't like that, because not only that, he also gets ownership of the movie. He completely owns the rights to this movie in 25 years, which is something that's not very heard of, right? So this person, hold on, I don't want to show that part at all. Okay, this person has this video on it. Let me show. Oh, all right, hold on, let me see. Can you guys see it? Why is it like that? It's not supposed to be like that.
Absolutely, let's break down Ryan Coogler's deal on Sinners, and you will see why some studio executives are saying, this is the end of Hollywood. Just FYI, this was originally covered in Vulture, but this AV Club article doesn't have a paywall, and it's kind of paraphrasing the other one. So the deal that Ryan Coogler struck when he sold the Sinners package, it is being called unorthodox. Some anonymous Hollywood types were willing to call it very dangerous, and that it could be the end of the studio system. So they set the scene here. Coogler was fresh off 2 franchises, Creed and 2 Black Panther films, when he decided to shop around this Michael B. Jordan project. And I remember when this happened, it was like very mysterious package. But that package came with basically a list of requirements. Like, we will only sell you this movie if blank. The article notes that some of these were very big asks, but not outside the realm of possibility for a guy currently writing a series of major box office wins. The first thing he asked for was final cut of the film. This is something that directors often try to get. It's hard to get in the studio system, and the higher the budget, the harder it is to get. This film was made for $90 million. He also asked for first dollar gross. This means that Coogler starts getting a portion of the film's profits from the moment it opens, rather than having to wait for the studio to make back its money first, which is the norm. The really biggie, though, and this one is huge, is that he wanted ownership of the film to revert to him after 25 years. This is also something that is incredibly rare, especially for films that clearly are going to spawn a franchise. And they do mention some other people here. They say Mel Gibson owns The Passion of the Christ. Richard Linklater has partial ownership of Boyhood, which I didn't know, but that makes sense. Tarantino will get Once Upon a Time in Hollywood back in a couple decades. But here's the most interesting part. So the reasoning why Coogler said that he did this says the reason is rooted at least in part of Sinners' focus on themes of Black artists' ownership of their own culture. If you have seen the film, this makes so much sense that, like, if you tried to fight him on this, I don't see how your argument couldn't be anything other than racist and incapable of understanding what the movie's about. But of course, you also have this practical element, which is like, he is generating massive original material that is so sure to spawn a franchise. Warner Brothers loves, they've taken Dune, turned that into a TV show. I strongly feel, especially because the world is so lived in already, that Sinners will be a TV show and they're going to make a sequel. And it is interesting, right? Because we don't know what Hollywood will even look like in 25 years. Will it even exist still? But we also know that franchises, especially genre franchises, vampire franchises, like, they never die. Now, in terms of the whole, like, we are freaking out because the deal was so good to the creator, I think it's ridiculous. And there's a reason why those quotes are anonymous. Anyway, go see Sinners this weekend, support original film. As my friend BJ Colangelo pointed out when she did a press junket for this film, we have seen Black vampires before, but those movies are often not made by Black filmmakers. But also, everything else aside, the movie just rips. So why are you watching this? Go see it. Absolutely, let's break down Ryan Coogler's deal on Sinners.
Okay. So that's one of the things that a lot of people, it was getting under a lot of people's skin. It was bothering a lot of people because what they see now, Ryan, shout out to him again, our brother Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, FBA, but our brother Ryan Coogler, he's the one who sent up there, set this up, and he made a phenomenal deal for himself. Ryan made an absolutely phenomenal deal for himself, and he shows the importance of FBA owning what is ours, because oftentimes, and this is what the movie also goes into, how our culture, our talent is exploited for the benefit of non-Black people, white people, in this case, Irish vampires. So this is what Ryan is saying, like, hey, the film is about Black people gatekeeping. That's really what the film is about. Really, for real, the film is really it's centered around gatekeeping. That is FBA gatekeeping. The juke joint is really a representation of a lot of things, but for the most part, it's a representation of FBA culture and us, and the importance of us gatekeeping that, and how dangerous it is for us to allow other people in. So this is what Ryan's all like, hey, no, if I'm gonna make a movie essentially about vampires, but also gatekeeping, then I'm gonna need to have ownership of that. And the movie got great reviews, great reviews. The movie is the opening weekend did more than what they thought the opening weekend was gonna do. So we're gonna have to see the second weekend in order to see, because it hasn't broke even yet. But we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see what the second weekend does in its entire theatrical release worldwide. We're gonna have to see that, okay? To see where it is. But as far as the reviews are concerned, I definitely believe that this movie is gonna make a profit. The reviews are all there. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's liked this movie so far, and it's an original already movie. So and it's doing well so far. So that's really good for him. They don't like black people owning our stuff, because when we own our stuff, we put like a sauce to it that nobody else knows. There's a formula to it that nobody else understands, because culturally we have a different cultural connection to each other, our lineage, in this land that nobody else gets. So we have an ingredient to it that nobody else can replicate. Like in the scene, okay, when Remick is doing the dance and everybody else is dancing, and it was almost like a replication of the juke joint dance, but you didn't get the same. Remick is doing that, but Remick can't connect to his ancestors. Remick isn't from here. Remick can't connect to that. There's no love, there's no joy, there's no laughing, ain't nobody bopping their head. This is very mechanical and soulless. This is really what it's saying. That when Remick does the same thing that we do, when they do the same thing that we do, they don't have soul. That's the important part, all right? Which is why we need to gatekeep. So a lot of people in Hollywood like, hey, we don't want this to become a trend. Because especially at the end, when you got Michael B. Jordan sitting up there chopping down Klansmen, yeah, we don't want to see this on the big screen now. No. We thought this was a vampire movie. I don't know why y'all just killing white folk like that. Nah. We don't want to see that. So they don't want this in ownership to become habit forming. Like, I don't want Ryan Coogler, to start a trend. And now you got a whole bunch of people trying to make movies about their culture and then owning it on. Now we ain't gonna do all that now. No. So that's very important, especially because this movie can spawn a franchise, right? Then you have some non-FBAs. You got some non-FBAs who are upset with it. And let me show y'all. Lord have mercy. The non-FBAs, they got something to say about it. Hold on. Here we go. We got to show we got to show the haters. There's got to be some non-FBA haters.
I love the movie Sinners, but ... Part 1. There will be spoilers. I love the movie Sinners, but it's literally the plot of From Dusk Till Dawn. Two criminal brothers head down south to start new lives. While down south, they are trapped in a building that's in the middle of nowhere, and they find themselves surrounded by vampires. One of the brothers is seduced by a beautiful vampire temptress and gets turned into a vampire. The other brother, who's a straight shooter, leads a group of survivors to survive the night until dawn. And throughout the movie, we have discussions about religion, faith, and family. In the final climactic battle of this movie, there's a huge fight between the survivors and the vampires. The Asian character in this movie sacrifices himself to protect their family. One of the characters in this movie who is turned begs their loved one to end their life, and with tears in their eyes, they do. And after killing all the vampires via sunlight, the only two survivors are the brother and the hopeful youth. The hopeful youth whose father was a preacher. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here because I follow people in the horror community. No one's talking about this. It's insane. There is one fucking movie that Sinners owes everything to, and it's not fucking Puss in Boots. It's goddamn From Dusk Till Dawn. And like, I'm not saying Nosferatu, Dracula, Sinners, From Dusk Till Dawn, But I will say that Ryan Coogler needs to firmly address that he was inspired by a Latin American vampire movie because we are owed our flowers. Also, Ryan, I saw that tamale story you put in the movie. Where's the fucking Latino extras? Come on, Ryan, you're so good at putting Latinos in your movie. What the fuck happened here? You don't put Latinos in the movie and you steal from the biggest Latino vampire movie? Come on, man, that's a bad look.
I don't think this guy liked this movie at all. I think he might be a racist.
Loving something does not excuse you turning a blind eye to its flaws. Acknowledging and discussing the flaws of something you love is healthy and leads to a better relationship. Hope you enjoyed the video, everyone. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to be talking about how the vampires in the movie Sinners don't make any fucking sense. Have a magical day, everyone.
Boy, first off, that was such a bad hate. Lord have mercy, man. We literally can't do anything without them being me too. Where's the Latino representation? I don't understand. Where's the Latino representation? This is the 1930s in Mississippi. Where were the Latinos in the 1930 in where are the Latinos in Mississippi right now anyway? Today in 2025, where are the Latinos? And where are the Latinos in the 1930s in Mississippi? How would you add them in there? Oh, you took everything from Dusk Till Dawn. No. And he did also acknowledge publicly in interviews he did before the movie's release that he was inspired by Till Dusk Till Dawn and things like that. So there were elements of Dusk Till Dawn. There were. But the elements of the movie, there's a very different elements of the Dusk Till Dawn movie. And then Sinners, very different elements. It's not the same. It's not a copy and paste. And this is something that the Hispanics do come on, which is another reason. Their response is another reason why we got to gatekeep. Okay, because when they make movies about Hispanic, Hispanic lead in a Hispanic film, they just gave what's that one lady name? Oh my God, I forgot. What's that one lady who's in Avatar, and she also plays Gamora, and she's like a Afro Latino. What's her name? If Torian knows her name, I'm sure he knows her name. She just won an Oscar, and she was all like, shout out to the Dominican Republic. Zaldana. Thank you. Zaldana or Saldana. Zoe Zaldana. Okay, right? They just had a whole movie where they just won an Oscar based off a Hispanic film. Now, FBA, we weren't. Is Saldana or Zaldana? See, y'all, Zoe Zaldana. Okay. We weren't included in that movie. So when they make movies about Hispanic films and Hispanic culture and stuff like that, and they get an Oscar, and then they get up on their thing and they say, well, shout out to, because I'm the first with a Latino woman and my Latino heritage and my Latino culture and Latino. We got to sit there and be like, oh, all right, okay, cool. Latino, shout out to the Latinos. And then when we do something, it's got to be like, oh, y'all didn't invite us? What the hell, man? I thought we was all in this together. We like this. We like people of color. No, we're not going to do that. Every time we do something, because it's just going to be more popping than what they do, now we got to include them? No, because when they do stuff, just like Blue Beetle, and I went to see Blue Beetle, wasn't bad, wasn't great, but it was all right. Okay, you didn't really have Black American representation in there at all. I can't think of one FBA character in that movie at all. I can't think of one. Okay, off the top of my head, can't think of one. Entire cast Hispanic. Okay, now they didn't turn Blue Beetle. I remember doing a live a podcast with Torian about it. They didn't turn Blue Beetle into their Black Panther. Because remember when Black Panther came out, they was all like, where's the Latino Black Panther? There's no Latino Black Panther. There's no Latino Black Panther. They got to be forced in our stuff because we just got sauce that they don't got. We got the sauce and they don't got that. This sent up there, where's the Latino representation? When they make movies, when anybody makes movies about their own culture, whether that's Hispanic, Asian, all of this stuff, Irish, whatever the case is, we never complain. Where are we? Where are we? Where's the Black American representation in this? I just don't like. We don't do that. We know, okay, that's their thing. They ain't gonna. We already know that they ain't gonna invite us in. But the second we get our stuff, like the juke joint, they come now. Hey, can we come in? Can we come in? Can we come in? No, you can't come in. And then the second we don't let them in our juke joint, now it's like, oh my God, this is segregation. You guys are racist. No, we just ain't doing that. We just ain't doing that. Shout out to the Cash Apps, the Super Chats. Chosen says, I'm from Mississippi Delta and ain't many immigrants. Yeah, it's really not. Where would they even be getting that from? Where would they be getting that from? It's really not, right? So thank you for that. Alpha Male Pimp Network says, I have to give Warner Brothers credit where credit is due for the, quote, Sinners film. Even though I have a huge bone to pick with Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers Studios, for having, for them trying to screw over on Prince and Michael Jackson. Yo, Warner Brothers, they got issues. Thank you for that, brother. Warner Brothers got issues, but the fact that they greenlit the film and gave him enough money to produce it, and then they didn't like try to oversee. They weren't all like, I don't really know about that KKK thing. You're going to have to take that part out of the film. They weren't doing that. They essentially let Ryan kind of do his thing. That was really good. And if he wasn't allowed to fully do his thing, the movie wouldn't have really hit like it did. And the movie is a hit. People, I've not heard anybody say the movie is not a hit. The movie is a hit. I've heard some people say that's the best movie that they've listened to saw in like the last 10 years or so. I also want to say another thing I forgot to mention, the Asians being able to sell to the black side and then also sell to the white side. It also goes to show that white supremacy does not target Asians the way they target black people, because we keep hearing stuff like, well, minorities are oppressed and people of color are oppressed, and we all no, ain't no all. Because when white people were doing business with you, they weren't doing business with us. When we were going through Jim Crow, you guys didn't have to suffer through Jim Crow. So that part right there just goes to show you how oppression and us being subjugated was unique to our lineage here. Every people of color didn't go through that. This is the 1930s, and they was able to make business and do all that stuff and have a good time with white people. All right. So this also goes to show or dispel the narrative that all non-black or non-white people go through the same thing. Like this even oppression. It's not. All right. It's really not. All right. Let me see. A shout out to Maya. Thank you, Maya. I appreciate you. Let me see. We got a little bit of time. A little bit. Let me ask you a question. Who all saw the film? If you saw the film, because you might just be watching just to watch. I assume a lot of you guys saw the film. If you saw the film, put the hand up emoji in the chat room if you saw the film. Because I want to see something real quick. Okay? So let me wait. If you saw the film, put your hand up emoji in the chat room. Real fast. Okay, we got a few people saw the film. That's good. All right. Okay, so we got a number of people who saw the film. Now let me ask you this. For the people who saw the film, from 1 to 10, 10 being like the absolute best top movie, and 1 being I would never see that movie again. Never. What would you guys rate the film from 1 to 10? For the people who put their hands, a lot of people still putting their hands up. I know, of course, you guys saw it. You guys making comments on it. Let me see something. Real quick. Let me see. I don't know if I want to do it. I'm gonna see. Torian, I saw your review. Now let me ask you guys this question. we have a little bit of time. If you guys don't want to, because my review is kind of done, I don't want to give too much spoil, because I want you guys to enjoy the scenes. And if I tell you guys the scenes, you guys are going to be like looking for them, and I want you guys to enjoy it. But I do want to do a review for the people who have seen the film. So if you guys haven't, definitely circle back to see this. I want to open up the phone lines, and I want you guys to be able to call in so we can kind of chop it up a little bit. But do you guys want to? Because I'm going to do it if you guys want to do it. Would you guys like to call in if you guys have seen the film and then like discuss it a little bit? I want to get the family's take on it. I want you guys to be able to express what you guys liked, what you guys, what was your favorite part of the film and all of that stuff. Waiting on the digital release. Okay, hey. All right. If you guys want to, if y'all want to, we can do that. We got a little bit of time today. Yep. If you guys want to put the phone emoji in the chat room, if you guys want to do that, let's put the phone emoji in the chat room. You waiting on the waiting on the DVD? Hey, well, if you guys wait on it, that's cool. That's cool. If you guys wait on it, then definitely you guys are gonna really connect with that. I don't mind spoilers. Just don't give too many details. Oh, yeah, you're gonna love the film. I definitely think that you're gonna love the film. There's some people who don't mind spoilers, but okay, well, maybe we'll do the phone lines a little bit later. Because I wouldn't want to open up the phone lines, and that's why I asked if you guys have seen the film. I wouldn't want to open up the phone lines and you guys haven't like seen the film. Because then you guys there's nothing to really say. So for a lot of people, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Oh, you did see it. I thought you said you were waiting on DVD. LF. Pay-per-view. Hey, that's cool too. That's cool too. This film needs to be supported. It does need support, because I do want to see more films like this, more films that touch on FBA culture and that put FBA in a good light and all of that stuff. I would want to see that. Let me just open it up for a few minutes. Let's see who wants to call in. Hold on for 1 second. I'll open. It's not going to be too long, but I'll definitely open it up for, because I know somebody wants to say something about it. So I'll definitely open it up for a bit. Okay, I'm opening it up right now. Hold on. Okay. Okay, the number is right here. All right. That's the number. The number is 949-381-0044. That's 949-381-0044. So we'll be here for a couple more minutes. Hold on. I just put a new battery in this mouse, and now the mouse is kind of like not sliding the way I want it to. It's always something, right? It's always something. Okay, we got a caller on the line. Let me put this. Okay, mouse, come on. I need you to stop doing that. Okay. Miss Nisi, I already know. I memorized your number now. Caller from area code 304. You're online.
Good evening, Afro. This is Miss Nisi.
See, I know your number now. I knew it was you. How you doing, Miss Nisi?
I'm fine. How are you? Good evening, family in the chat. I wanted to hear the review. Like I said, I haven't been to a movie theater in over 5 years. I just prefer to watch from home.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as it get released digital, you know the word I'm trying to say.
Digitally, yeah.
I will add it to my digital collection.
Well, that's good.
And Torian's review was also excellent. He's a movie buff, so. Yeah, anywho, that's all I got to say. Continue to be blessed, baby.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I love movies. I like movies a lot. I don't really get to watch as many movies as I'd like to, of course, but I love movies. I just don't review. Torian does a thing where, like, when it comes to like big movies, he always reviews the big movies. Okay, always. I watch them. I don't review them. I'm only reviewing this because there's so much of like racial allegory, so it kind of does fit the theme and purpose of the channel, right? Caller from area code 832. You're on live. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hey, how's it going, Afro? This is the realist out of Dallas.
What's on your mind, brother?
Yeah, man, I had to go back to that scene in the movie where Delroy Lindo's character Slim had that. He was given that speech about his friend and his trauma. It reminded me a lot of my mom. Like, she's in her 60s right now, and she would talk about traumatic things that happened to her, and then she would bust out into like a song or a hum. When I was younger, I never knew exactly why she did that, but I started to understand. Like you said, she's singing, happy tunes to keep herself from crying, and it resonated so much. I was like, man, just my mother used to do that. My grandmother did. And I just wonder, you felt that energy from them. And just, I don't believe that the preacher boy character in Pearline, they don't strike me like they were FBA, but they did a good job, I think. But I just wonder how much more powerful the show would have been if they were.
You said Preacher Boy and who else?
Pearline, she's played by Jamae Lawson.
You mean like what's the name? Annie? You mean like the Pearline? Pearline.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I really don't, honestly. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if somebody's saying Preacher Boy is FBA, they did a great job. They did a great job, though.
Oh no, it was great. It was great. Yeah, it was like the way he was singing, it was good. But yeah, like it was just that one scene with the storytelling. It reminded me of that scene with Denzel in Fences when he was talking about his father and the trauma behind that. So yeah, so that's just one of the things that really stuck out to me. Probably my favorite scene.
Yeah,
but
that scene was deep, man. That scene was deep, and the thing is that the fact that scene didn't really connect, or it wasn't like if it was edited out, the movie still would have played the same. But the fact that scene was in just goes to show the depth of the character, and it goes to show the seriousness of the world that was there. And us as FBA, we can connect to that because we can understand how, like, the humming and the beating on the side of the car and all of that stuff, how almost instinctually, like, that was there to soothe pain. You know what I'm saying? That was deep. That was a deep scene.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But that's all I got. Thanks, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, that was a powerful scene, man. That was a deep scene. Caller from area code 951. You're on live. What is your name and where you calling from?
Hey, yeah, my name is Ben, and I'm calling from Riverside, California.
What's on your mind, brother?
Yeah, man, I'm actually getting ready to 7:19 over here. I'm catching the 8 o'clock show, man, and the only reason I'm going to watch it, man, is because I'm hearing a lot from a lot of folks that the movie was really good. I'm hearing it here, but I'm hearing it really mostly from FBAs, man. So, if we want this movie to be a success and clear that 90 million and go above and double and triple, man, we just got to keep putting the word out there like you are right now, because that's exactly why me and my wife are going to watch it. So, just keep putting the word out there and I'm gonna check it out, man, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be, entertained, and and I'll do my part putting the word out. So yeah, man.
Yeah, that's important because we want more films like this. If Ryan Coogler
Right.
is if he's on code and he's trying to make films that's on code, you know what I'm saying? Because we have a problem with films trying to push anti-FBA agendas. So if we got a film that's actually like talking about our culture and in a positive sense and connecting us to our culture, then that film, we need to support that film. Otherwise, if it winds up not making a profit, they're going to use that as an excuse to be all like, yeah, well, you see all that culture stuff, nobody wants to see that in the movies, you know what I'm saying? So if it shows that it makes a profit, then we can see more movies, if not a sequel, more movies like that, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, brother.
Well, thank you, brother.
Yes,
I hope
sir.
you
Thank you.
when you watch it, leave a comment, let me know what you think.
Okay, for sure. Will do.
All right, thank you, brother. Thank you, Ben.
All right. Yes, sir.
All right. Caller from area code 813. You're on live. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Greg, and I'm calling from Omaha, Nebraska.
What's on your mind, brother?
Well, first off, I just want to thank you for allowing us to have this space to be able to discuss this amazing, amazing movie that really shows the depth and the beauty of our culture. I wanted to bring special attention to, and this is a spoiler, but I wanted to bring special attention to the particular scene when, excuse me, when Smoke is about to take out those Klansmen. And in that scene, I don't know if a lot of people realize that in that scene, he ripped off his hoodoo bag, which was significant in that, to me, that symbolized he was ready to transition to go be with his child and be with Annie. And shortly after he took them all out, that's exactly what happened, where you see him look over and now he's looking into the next dimension. And I just thought that was so powerful. It was so powerful. It was very moving. And, shout out to Ryan Coogler for coming up with a story that was really, really transcendent story in that, it there's a lot of racial allegories and stories and mythos within that movie. It was just amazing. And I'll land my plane there. And shout out to you, Afro. I love what you do, bro. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And keep on keeping on.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Shout out.
Shout out to you, brother. All right. I mean, that's very true. That's absolutely true. The let me actually, yeah, that's very true. That was a powerful scene. That was absolutely a powerful scene right there. And the fact that was able to connect to our culture, like this is just, Ryan did a great job with that. He did an absolutely great job with that. A caller from area code 301, you're on live. What's your name and where you calling from?
This is Torian calling by way of Vegas, at least for this
Torian, brother. Okay. Take it away, brother. Take it away.
Man, listen, when you told me you was gonna do this, and I had to tell you that I was gonna be on vacation, that kind of hurt because I definitely wanted to be a part of this discussion because this movie right here, I was already locked in when I found out that Ryan Coogler was gonna be doing a vampire movie, and then that's coming on the cusp of the announcement, or I guess you can say the disappointment of how Marvel fumbled the Blade bag. And I was like, oh, well, that's going to be very interesting. And you see what Ryan did, right? He done snatched up some of the people that's a part of the MCU and put them in this movie. I said Ryan Coogler is funny on the low for that one. but it works. And I was already locked in when I found out he was going to be doing a vampire movie. I was already locked in with that. But then after seeing this, I said, you got my attention. Like, you have me hooked. This was just, like I said in my review, this was the well-around movie all the way around. It was two parts in the movie that really stuck out for me. The one part in the juke joint when they were doing the generations of music, of FBA music.
Mm-hmm.
That part right there was so good because I didn't know where it was going at first. When I was looking, I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's nice. I like how they did that. I don't know how Ryan's mind worked or his team's mind worked when they came together to put that together as a scene, but that was amazing. That was some of the best camera work and editing work that I've ever seen, between the camera work, the way that they weave the people in there, the way that they mix the music in there, like everything about that scene, which lasted for maybe about a good 5 minutes, was a huge highlight of the movie for me. That was probably one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
That movie, as a matter of fact, when I hear people talk about the movie, if they don't want to spoil it for anybody, they have now relegated to calling it that scene. And when I see people type that scene, I know exactly what they're talking about. The other part that was good for me, it was actually a funny scene, and that was with the cornbread character. When Stack went to go get him out of the cotton field, and he was that's the part that he was telling his wife. I thought that was hilarious. I think everybody in my theater who saw that movie, we was laughing hard at that part, because she was like, hey, this is about money. This is business. You better go get that money. And you might get served on the back end, at the end of the night. So I thought that was pretty funny, but all in all, the movie was just very good. Everybody did a good job. The acting was good. The writing, the directing, the music, the editing. Like I said in my review, I rarely give 10, but this movie definitely, in my honest opinion, deserved it. And it's crazy because I think the question of would Ryan continue with this as making a sequel, and he actually said that when he made the movie or the script, he didn't write it with the intent of turning it into a franchise. But I don't think, especially how it ended, that anyone would be opposed if he did decide to go and make this into a new original franchise.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be. I could see it's fine if he leaves it where it is. But if he does make it a franchise, he definitely is so much material. It's so much that he's built that he can do that. To go back to the juke joint scene, one of the things that about it that I think he did really well, like you said, the camera work and the camera angle, how it was really done in one take, maybe one or two.
It was
takes.
a one shot. It was like a one shot.
Yeah, and because it showed so much, but it didn't feel confusing. Like when you saw the ancestors, and then you saw DJ, and you saw people crip walk. It's not you weren't confused. Like, damn, there's a lot going on.
It was
felt like everything mixed together.
It was like he was looking at a time tunnel of music throughout the generations, like from where they were in 1932. Then they showed what the music sounded like in the 40s, then in the 50s, and then in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, even till now. Just basically showing how music has evolved every generation, because it's never going to stay the same. And I like how they did that. So that I thought that was very interesting how they did it, and then how they ended it off in you see the juke joint got burnt down, but even when it was burnt down, they were still in there dancing and partying right on the outside. So that scene right there, in my honest opinion, if they got nominated for anything, they should get nominated just for that scene alone on the technical side.
Yeah. To be honest, let me ask you a question. Clearly we think that this movie is probably going to be nominated. This movie is probably going to be one of the best movies of the. It's already what a lot of people consider.
I already said
one
it's
of the
going to
best
be
movies
contender
of
for
the year.
movie of the year. In my honest opinion, it's already a contender, hands down.
Do you think? Now, of course, we know it's probably going to be nominated. What do you think this movie might be nominated for?
Oh, cinematography for sure. Just on that scene alone, just the cinematography, definitely. Probably also maybe the music for sure is definitely probably going to get I can see it get nominated more on the technical aspect. Now I'm not sure about like with the acting or anything like that, but on the technical side, definitely. And the reason why I say that is because, and like for those who don't know, horror movies, quote unquote, aren't very popular in a lot of big award ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look throughout history, a lot of horror movies, even those who were deserving, never get like those big nominations, at least not in the acting or the directing or the movie categories. As a matter of fact, I think the last time a movie won in those big categories like that was probably Silence of the Lambs. And that movie came out in the early 90s. Now, I think Jordan Peele was probably one of the last few creatives that won a big award, and that was for Get Out, which was very well deserved, and that was on the writing aspect of it. But that was back like in 2018 maybe, I think. So like I said, those big award shows like that, they're not really kind of horror movies. But I said if it's deserving of it, it should. Like, and this one definitely is deserving of it. And even if it doesn't get it, it doesn't negate the fact that the movie, in our opinion, definitely got the praise that it deserves.
Yeah, I'm looking at the awards. It says it's got best original screenplay, best picture, best actor, best director.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely see Sinners getting nominated for all that.
Thing too. And it's funny you bring up like, best director and stuff like that, because to this day there still hasn't been a black director to win in that category. It's been nominated, but they've never won. So, but I mean, I won't like hold my breath or anything like that, but I do think that for cinematography, for sure, it should definitely be a shoe-in to get a nomination and possibly win for that. Definitely.
It definitely should. And original screen. Well, original, because this is original. I mean, most movies take inspiration from.
It's original.
Most movies, because a lot of people know it's from like it's a copy of Dusk Till Dawn. Is really not. Is really not, to be honest. Even the vampires were acting different, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's original. I almost want to say, with the way Michael B. Jordan played two different characters.
Definitely, he should get nominated for that.
I could see him being nominated.
Like literally looking at two different people. It was like looking at two different people. Like you couldn't tell me if someone was born probably in the last couple of years and had no idea who Michael B. Jordan was, and this was the first Michael B. Jordan movie they saw, they would swear up and down that he had a twin brother.
Yeah, they definitely would. He did he really did his thing. He really did. I mean, he showed so much range in that movie, because the thing is that he played both characters to a really good T, and it didn't feel, even the scenes where they were together, it didn't feel weird. It didn't feel like it didn't feel comedic, because most of the time, and I was saying this, most of the time when you see an actor play different characters in one film, most of the time it's like a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how they'll have like Eddie Murphy or who's that other person? Tyler Perry do that.
Mm-hmm. And also too, for those who don't know, and I mentioned this actually in my review, Sinners is one of the very few rare movies to get a perfect 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. That is very hard to do, especially for a horror movie or anything that's classified as horror, because they're going to throw it into that category, even though, like people said, it genre bended, like it had comedy, it had drama, and it had horror mixed in, but it blended so well. But also, there's this other movie metric system called Cinema Score. And they said that they said Ryan Coogler made history by being the first director to have an A for a horror movie on that. They said usually horror movies get a B on that metric system, but this is the first time a horror movie got an A.
Shout out to Ryan is definitely Ryan is definitely going places, man. Shout out to Ryan. I mean, his ability to make characters, and what I really like about his characters is that the characters are not in none of the films are the characters like super one-dimensional. And you can tell in all of the characters, like you could see, like for instance with Delta Slim, the drunk old man, but he wasn't just a drunk old man, he was also a drunk old wise man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not he's not at all a one-dimensional character. When Michael B. Jordan, normally when you play twins, it's not like one twin is good and one twin is bad, and they're kind of like one-dimensional. Both twins, their characters can stand out on their own as individual multi-layered characters. Okay.
Definitely.
The women, Annie and Mary, all of multiple dimension characters, even the villain. It wasn't just the typical, I just want to suck your blood and turn you into. It wasn't like that. It was very sneaky and damn near very manipulative as a vampire. Even after they found out he was a vampire, he was still that way. I'm telling you, the way he writes characters is brilliant.
The part that got me though was when he began to float, like lift himself off the ground and like kind of, I guess you could say, float into the air, because I was not expecting him to do that, because you don't typically expect vampires to do that. I thought he was going to be one of the ones that was just going to like maybe chase them or just walk them down. But when he started to float into the air, that caught me completely off guard. And also another thing, for those of y'all who don't know, Ryan Coogler said he got the inspiration for the glowing eyes of the vampires from the movie Puss in Boots.
That was a good touch. Yeah. I like that touch. That was a really good touch, the glowing eyes.
Yeah. When he said that, I was like, when he said he got it, Puss in Boots, I was like, for what? I was like, how does that even work? But he said he got the inspiration for the glowing eyes for the vampires, or the changing of the eye color from the movie Puss in Boots. So it's amazing how he got inspiration for a movie of this magnitude from what would be considered a children's film.
That's true. And it was such a great take too. Like, because it makes them, and the fact of the matter is that their eyes aren't like that all the time. Sometimes their eyes are normal, like when Maverick came up to the door and he was trying to get in or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, I'm friendly, I'm cool, I don't mean no problems." And then you see him, like, once it's all discovered, now his eyes can go back and forth to like red. Like when he's in his like vampire mode, it's red, but then on other times it's not. If his eyes were normal the whole time, it would have felt way less menacing. You know what I'm saying? So that was a really good thing that he did. And it just shows how much he pays attention to details. That detail really was able to like make the vampires more menacing and show their like the fact that they're separated from humanity.
Right. All right, that's pretty much all I had to say. I don't want to like take up too much of the time. I know some people that want to call in and weigh in on it, but I just had to call in about this and just
How's the vacation going though? How's the vacation going? I see you was flying through the air like Superman. I already see that.
It's so crazy. There was some other things that I could have did too, but it was like a lot of stuff going on. I actually just got back to my room after being out practically all day. I got like one day left and I'll be back. I'll be coming back on Friday, but I'm having a great time out here though. Like, this is nice. The weather is nice. The vibes is nice. I'm having a good time. I went to Fat Tuesday twice. I mean, if anybody's been following my Instagram page, but let's just put it like, how people talking about big back? Well, my back is a little bit wider, than it was when I left. So I already know when I get back, it's going to be go time back in that gym, because I really haven't worked out that much, because the gym that's where I'm staying at, it's not, how like a hotel gym is not all that. It's not what you like a regular gym, how you would prefer it to be. But it is what it is. But I'll be back in the swing of things. Of course, I'm gonna have to readjust because of that time difference. It's 3 hours difference from you know, on the East Coast and everything like that. Like the sun is still, I can still see the sun right now.
Mm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
but
man.
I appreciate it. Though. I'm gonna just go back and listen to see what else everybody else has to say about the movie.
Appreciate you. Well, you know, I think I might want to wrap it up there. We've been on here for a good couple hours. I just wanted to take a couple of calls. I'm glad Torian was our last one. Shout out to you. Yeah, because I got to get ready for tomorrow's live stream. So shout out to our brother. If y'all haven't seen, Torian did a review. And what's interesting about that is as soon as I saw the movie, I text Torian. He was the first person. I was like, hey, Torian, because Torian has saw the movie before I did. So he made a review before I made the review. Or a review before. And I knew because I already know that's how Torian does. So I already know Torian was going to do that. And the second I saw the film, I was like, hey, I text Torian immediately. I was like, hey, Torian, do you want to do a review on this? And he was like, I'm already out of town. I was like, oh my God. I didn't even bother really asking. Like, it's like there's certain things. I have unique relationships with different people. So there's certain things that I can talk to certain people about that I really couldn't talk to other people about. And because me and Torian, we already have this like we've kind of done multiple different like movie reviews, breakdown reviews, and all of this stuff. We've done that for a couple years now. So like it just wouldn't have felt the same to do it without Torian. No one Torian watched the movie, and I didn't. I was just like, I just do it by myself. If I can't do it with Torian, I'm gonna do it by myself. Fuck it. That's what I was like. That's what I was like. I was like, that's. But it is what it is, though. Plus, I had to wait till my voice got better and everything like that. I wanted to do like a pre-recorded thing some days ago, but my voice was still kind of messed up, and I didn't want to, mess that up. No, it is what it is. But salute to every single last one of you guys. If y'all haven't seen the movie, go see it. Go see this movie. This is definitely one of the best movies of the year so far. Absolutely. Definitely one of the best movies of the year so far. You guys got to see this movie. It's so layered. It's absolutely layered. You guys are gonna love it. 100%. 100%. Now, with that being said, my brothers and sisters, that concludes the review. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. What you guys can do in the meantime is you guys can follow me on my various social media platforms. That's in the description below. And you guys can hit that like button. Very important. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and the notification button to make sure that you guys are notified, to make sure that you guys don't miss out on anything in the future coming up. All right. And with that being said, Black first to every single last one of you brothers and sisters. Thank you all so very much for watching. I appreciate you all. Y'all stay blessed.